The morning had begun like any other for 35-year-old single dad Marcus Hale. And yet, as he stepped into the small Denver café with the bell chiming overhead, something in the air felt different. Heavy, unsettled, as if a story was waiting for him to notice it. He had been coming here for months, always ordering the same black coffee, always carrying the soft exhaustion of parenting alone, and always greeted by the same waitress whose smile used to brighten even the dullest of days. Her name was Claire, a woman in her late 20s with soft brown curls and a warm presence that once lit up the entire cafe. But today, her smile was gone. Her eyes were swollen, as if she had spent the morning fighting tears, and the way she carried herself felt weighed down by something she could no longer hide. Marcus felt an ache in his chest, sensing a depth of pain he had once known too well. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that touch the heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps more people find these emotional stories. Marcus had come to the cafe simply to gather his thoughts before picking up his 8-year-old daughter Hope from school. But as he sat at the polished wooden table, he couldn't ignore the silent heaviness radiating from Claire as she walked over with his usual order. Her hands trembled slightly. Her apron was tied tighter than usual, as if she was holding herself together by the straps. Her gaze drifted toward the window every few seconds, her mind somewhere far away. Perhaps somewhere painful. Marcus knew that look. He had worn it himself for months after his wife passed away in a sudden accident, leaving him alone to navigate parenthood, grief, and loneliness in a world that moved forward without him. He had rebuilt himself slowly, painfully, piece by piece. But seeing Claire now made old memories stir like dust in a room that had been shut for too long. He watched her drift from table to table, offering polite gestures and thin smiles that never reached her eyes. It wasn't just a bad day. This was something else. Something deeper. When she returned to his table to refill his cup, he gently asked what had happened to her smile. It was a simple question. Soft, careful, but it opened a wound that Claire had been trying desperately to hide. Her face crumpled for a moment, so quickly he almost missed it. But she steadied herself and whispered that she was fine. Marcus didn't push, but he didn't look away either, giving her the same quiet patience others had once given him when he had been drowning silently. Something in his calm presence made Claire sit down opposite him, just for a moment, and breathe, really breathe, for the first time that day. As she began to speak, her truth came out in fragments, as if she had been holding it inside for too long, and it had begun to break apart under its own weight. She told him about the past few months, about losing her younger brother Noah to a sudden illness, about the crushing guilt of not being there in the final hours, and about the way her family had fractured under the weight of grief. She said she had been trying to keep going, trying to smile, trying to hold on to her job and her responsibilities, but every day felt like walking with invisible stones tied to her chest. The world had carried on, unaware that hers had fallen apart. She had been surviving, not living, and the effort had drained her until she couldn't even pretend to smile anymore. Marcus listened quietly, the cafe noise fading as her story sank into him with unexpected force. Every word she spoke reminded him of the dark days after his wife's passing, the nights he sat awake staring at the ceiling, the mornings he forced himself to smile for his daughter's sake, the weight of memories that clung to him like shadows. Hearing Claire's pain felt like reopening his own, but it also reminded him how far he had come. He realized that maybe, in some small way, he could be for her what others had been for him. Claire admitted that she had been on the verge of quitting her job that morning. She felt she couldn't carry on pretending everything was fine, not when the memories of her brother's laughter haunted everything she did. Marcus felt his throat tighten as he watched her wipe away a tear with the back of her hand. She didn't cry loudly. Hers were the silent tears of someone too tired to break down anymore. He wanted to tell her that life could rise again from sorrow, that hope was not gone, that the days would get better, even if the nights still hurt. But he remembered too well how hollow words could feel in the thick of grief. So instead of giving empty promises, he shared something real, something honest from his own life. He told her about the moment he realized he had to start living again for his daughter. He described how hope would sit with him in silence as a child, sensing his grief, placing her small hand on his and telling him she missed her mom too. He said the turning point for him hadn't been a big moment, but a small one, when Hope asked why he didn't smile anymore. That question had pierced him deeply, just as his own question had pierced Claire. He told her that healing was slow, but life had ways of surprising you when you least expected it. Sometimes kindness from a stranger or a soft moment of honesty could begin the process. Claire looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and vulnerability. His words didn't erase her pain, but they made her feel less alone in it. She didn't know Marcus well, but in his eyes she saw the truth of someone who had walked through darkness and come out holding onto a glimmer of light. It wasn't sympathy. No, it was understanding. Something she hadn't felt from anyone in weeks. As their conversation continued, Claire admitted that she had been distancing herself from people, including her friends and family, because grief made her feel like a burden. She felt guilty for being sad, guilty for being alive when her brother wasn't, and guilty for not being strong enough to keep smiling. Marcus gently reminded her that strength wasn't defined by pretending everything was fine. It was found in honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to keep going even when life felt unbearable. He told her she had already shown immense strength just by showing up to work that day, even with her heart breaking inside her. Hours slipped by without either of them noticing, and soon the café began to empty. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the large windows, casting warm patterns across the wooden tables. Claire seemed calmer now, her breath steadier, her shoulders less tense. She admitted that she hadn't spoken this openly to anyone since her brother's passing. Marcus encouraged her to seek support, from friends, from a counselor, or even from grief groups, assuring her that healing didn't have to be a solitary journey. She nodded slowly, as if considering something she had previously rejected. When Marcus finally stood up to leave, he placed a gentle hand on the table, not reaching for her, but leaving a quiet presence behind, a reminder that she wasn't alone. Claire managed a small, tired smile, not forced, not bright, but real. The kind of smile that showed the beginning of healing, not the end of grief. As Marcus walked out of the café with the city breeze brushing against him, he felt something shift inside him as well. He had walked in thinking he needed a moment to rest, but he walked out realizing he had been given a chance to help someone who reminded him of where he once was. Later that evening, as he picked up his daughter from school and listened to her chatter excitedly about her day, Marcus felt grateful that he had kept going through his own darkest moments. He hoped Claire would find her way forward too. And somewhere in the quiet calm of her apartment, Claire sat with her journal open, writing about her brother for the first time since he passed away. She wrote not to erase the pain, but to honor the love. She ended her entry by mentioning the stranger who asked her about her missing smile. The stranger whose gentle question had reminded her that she still had one left. If this emotional story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps support the channel and keeps these heartfelt stories coming. Before the story ends, please comment below. Never underestimate a small act of kindness. And so, in a small Denver cafe, a single dad and a grieving waitress crossed paths at the exact moment they both needed a reminder. One that said healing begins not with perfection, but with truth, compassion, and the courage to keep going, even when your smile has temporarily faded.